Oh, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Slob on the Pod. This is Playing with Myself, episode 2. Real quick, before we get into the episode, we got to thank the sponsor of the podcast, which is Liquid IV. That is correct, guys. Liquid IV has sponsored the today's episode. If you guys don't know, Liquid IV contains 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks, made with premium ingredients, non-GMO, and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. 1 stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates faster and more efficiently than water alone. Liquid IV is on a mission to change the world. Liquid IV has donated over 20 million servings globally. And actually, Liquid IV is hooking up Slob on the Pod listeners and viewers. You can get 15% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code SLOB, S-L-O-B. That is promo code SLOB, S-L-O-B, for 15% off plus free shipping when you go to liquidiv.com and use promo code SLOB. Thank you, Liquid IV, for sponsoring this episode. Real quick, guys, Liquid IV is awesome. I just recently had a show at the Crest. Big shout out to Josh Potter and Chase O'Donnell and Reese Muniz and everyone else that put on a great show. But what I'm getting at is, before the show, I took a Liquid IV. After I got off stage, I took a Liquid IV just because I was feeling a little like, I think the adrenaline or something, and I felt, I don't know, maybe from the adrenaline, but I felt dehydrated, so I definitely took one. So Liquid IV, that's the best part, is they're on the go. It's a little stick. I was even able to sneak it into the club because no one ever even saw it. Never even found it. It was so small. I just slid it in my pocket and walked right into the club with it. So thank you, Liquid IV, for sponsoring Slob on the Pod. Everybody, go get yourself a stick of Liquid IV. Go get yourself a box. Go get yourself a whole packet. Whatever you guys need. Liquid IV is great for everything. They have hydration multipliers. They have one that helps with sleep. They have energy boosters. And all the same concept, just a little pack that you just put into 16 ounces of water, shake it up, drink it. It tastes amazing, by the way. My favorite flavor is obviously the OG lime, but there's other flavors on there that are also amazing. Just go check it out. Like I said, go to liquidiv.com. Anything you order, use my code SLOB, S-L-O-B, for 15% off plus free shipping. Thank you, Liquid IV. Now let's get to this fucking episode. Everybody, welcome back to Slob on the Pod. This is Playing with Myself, episode 2. Where so this is I don't know if I talked about it last time, but this is the new structure of the podcast. This is that plan, all right? So I record an episode solo, put that out on Monday. Actually, okay, rewind. So let's just say last week I recorded 2 episodes, right? I recorded an episode where I have a guest on. And then later on after that, I record an episode solo, which is what I'm doing now. This solo episode will come out Monday, and then Thursday will be a guest episode. So the whole structure of this new, I'm trying to create this thing. I'm at episode 69 now, and I really need to start thinking of ways, like, I can't just be going like where I'm at. I'm coasting right now. I'm plateauing, and I need to just switch it up. I need to shock the podcast. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm switching things up. You're going to get 2 episodes a week. Monday will be a solo one with myself, and I'll talk about whoever fucking knows. It's me playing with myself, talking with myself. And the second episode of that week will come out on Thursday, and that'll be with a guest. So that's just the structure from here on out. This has to get done. I need to stop being fucking lazy. I said that last time, and I'm doing it. All right, guys. This is it is Monday, October 3rd, and last Friday I had this past weekend Friday I had a show at the Crest. It was hosted by Cody Beeson. Thank you. Cody Beeson also put on the show. I mean, he pulled all the strings, got the headliners, got the sponsorships, got the marketing, got the tickets, everything you could possibly think of. We put it all together, and it was an amazing show. It was a sold out show, another sold out show. This is our second show we've had at the Crest. This was a sold out show. If you guys weren't there, once again, you missed it. Man, I mean, like I said, it's only the second show, but from the first show to the second, it's like I can see it getting better and better. And honestly, that first show I thought was amazing, and somehow we exceeded the expectations for this one. And I guess we just have to keep going up from there. And it's gonna be very tough, but Cody fucking makes it happen. Let me go back. So we had obviously we had Josh Potter and Chase O'Donnell from LA come on down, which are huge guests. I mean, huge comedians. I apologize. Huge comedians. I mean, Josh used to help produce, and Your Mom's House was Tom Segura and Christina Pajinski. I mean, Chase has been on episodes with Christina P. And honestly, man, it was insane. Going from seeing them on the podcast, listening to them, and then to just have them hanging out with us, you know, backstage and stuff, and then and just talking to them, just having like one-on-one time with them to where we can really just ask them whatever. And they were the coolest people ever. Real quick, we also had Reese Muniz out of Phoenix. He's been doing this shit for a while, so that was fucking dope. He killed it. He was also a great guy. Him and his girl were up hanging out in the green room with us. They were a lot of fun. Got to hang out with them afterwards, talk to them, ask them, you know, some questions about, you know, stand up and just kind of, he's, like I said, he's been doing it for quite a while as well. So, you know, it was just cool to pick their brains on just the whole, you know, coming up as a stand-up and how it all works. And I mean, we're barely, me and Cody are barely starting out. My bad, I fucked up. We also had, which I was very excited about, and I didn't know this to the last minute, but we had another buddy of ours that has been coming to the open mics over at, like I said, every first Wednesday of every month, we do open mic stand-up at the Brewers airport in Yuma. And so we also, and one of the guys that was there with us, Emil, this guy, the first time I ever met him, he did open mic with us out at Brewers, and the guy was hilarious. Obviously, he was older, and as soon as he got off stage, I went over and talked to him, and I kind of just was like, bro, like, thank you for coming out. You definitely need to come back more. And he's like, yeah, man, I used to do it, and I kind of took a break for a while, but now he's getting back into it, which is cool. It kind of worked out. He's getting back into it around the time that me and Cody have just been doing way more comedy down here in Yuma. And I mean, he's always been someone that was hilarious to me. Like I said, I always saw him as an older figure to where I can get advice from him. So when I found out that he was doing opening for this big show last Friday, that was also really cool. It didn't really help me though, because I was super nervous, so nervous. Like, if you guys follow me on Instagram at Jordan Tondo, my personal account, I kept posting pictures of my Fitbit because my heart rate was insane. From the time I parked, probably till about the time that I fucking left the club, my heart rate was at 114, 116. I was super nervous, but I was also very excited. There was also just so many things going on in my head. Like, as always, especially with these being paid shows where, you know, people pay to come in, people pay money to have babysitters, and it's, you know, you don't want to waste anyone's time. It's not a time to go up there and just try new things, although sometimes that's what I do, but I probably shouldn't. But it's not one of those. It's one of those times where you go up and things you've been practicing on, this is your time to shine, and you really want to. You have to pretty much say the things that you know are going to get laughs. You don't really want to experiment too much because people go there to laugh. You know, they're not there to be like it's not an open mic where it's for free and stuff. Like, no, people took time out of their day. They paid money. Their hard work earned money. So, so that always plays a big factor. Then it doesn't, you know. And then we got, you know, two huge comedians from LA. We have another, you know, veteran comedian coming from Phoenix. So there's a lot of things that kind of go around. So whenever for me, when I think back about to myself, I'm just like, okay, well, you're just starting out. Somehow you fucking found a loophole in the comedy world, and you have found someone that has put on these amazing shows, brought down these amazing headliners that, in a million years, it would take so long for you to finally get to the point where you could open up for these people. So we kind of found a loophole, and now we're doing it. And so, we're like, well, we're creating the show, so we're going to throw ourselves in front of it and just see what happens. And it's honestly, it's just so many things go into that. And I think that's what goes towards the buildup of the excitement, but also the stressful and like not so much stress, anxiety, yes. Um, yeah, so that doesn't help, and then on top of that, then like I said, our buddy Emil, like I said last minute, I found out, I didn't know, but I found out that he was gonna go up, and he's going before me, which as soon as he got on stage, I regretted that immediately because he was hilarious. He killed it from the moment he got on to the moment he got off, and they fucking loved him, and I had to go after him. Which, so this is the way it works. So like, if this guy starts off amazing, you can't go below that. Like, you have to either do just as good as him, if not better. And you also got to help the momentum of the show keep going because, what was it? 5 of us performing, 6, including Cody, the MC. So in between, so about 5, 6 of us. So you got to keep the momentum going to spread that, hour and a half, however much time we had for the show to keep going, to keep people laughing, to keep people like not bored. So when he first goes up, it's just like he kills, and I'm like, oh shit, like automatically I was like, I should have gone first, because not that I don't have a lot of confidence in myself. It's just when I saw who I was going up against, I was like, okay, I should have gone first, but it all worked out. He killed. I got called up, and I think he did so well that it helped me, because by the time I got up there, they were already loosened up. They were just, like, okay, cool, this is what we're getting ourselves into. Because, I don't know, Cody made a good point. Yuma's not a big area where they do, a lot of comedy shows. Last time we had a show at the Crest, we got a lot of people coming up to us saying, like, yo, this was so cool. Like, a lot of people had never even been to a comedy club, let alone, like, comedy show, let alone seen, like, some of these big names. So they were very, like he said, the crowd doesn't know how to act to a comedy show. You got to kind of forget that, or I think they forget that there's not music. It's one person on stage is talking, and the rest should all be quiet and listening. This show we had, it was a little rowdy, I'm not going to lie. We did start like about 10 minutes late, just to let everyone sit down, because usually everyone gets in, they're still kind of hanging around, walking, talking, go and get drinks at the bar. So I think we let them kind of slowly start getting down to their seats. I guess like up in the front, there was like these girls that it was like their birthday or some shit. So like I went downstairs like 2 times, and I just kept hearing people screaming happy birthday. And sure enough, when I went on stage, that was like the rowdy side of the crowd. Some of my friends that were in attendance said that, they were a little annoyed with some of the, I guess they said, disrespectfulness. I don't know. I don't see it as disrespectful. I just see it as people drunk, wanting to have a good night, and and I feel like me as like a performer up on stage just kind of has to either control that, or work around it, or something, or work that into my act. I don't know, but yeah, it was definitely a rowdy crowd. Like I said, I went up there, and I think I did pretty well. Normally, I'm really hard on myself. The last Crest show, I thought I did terrible. I guess, as one would say, bombed. Not the greatest thing. And this time I had so much fun, and I don't know what changed, other than the fact that I think I was more prepared as far as like jokes goes, as far as the material that I used. Definitely threw in some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, some more stuff that's more relatable, more up to date as far as the jokes go. And so I think that helped. A lot of people were like, yeah, I heard about that. There was one guy in the front that, I don't know if he was being serious, but he was like, hey man, I haven't seen it yet. Like, and I wasn't really giving away any like secrets. Like, It's a fucking dude. It's a documentary. Like, this shit's been out for. I mean, yeah, I know the show, this Netflix series of Jeffrey Dahmer just came out, but his life story has been out for 30 some years. I mean, this shit happened back in like 19. I don't know, But so when he was like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet," I was like, "Oh, my bad, spoiler alert." But then now I think, and that's the thing that sucks is like now that I'm off stage, I think because my head isn't cloudy anymore. Like I'm just more calm. I'm not up there like, oh, joke, 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 joke. I could have came at him with something like hey, spoiler alert, but at the same time, like, this also happened like 40 years ago, so I don't know what the fuck you doing, Like, it wasn't like I was really giving anything away. Like, I should have been like, have you seen Titanic? No. It's like, all right, well, spoiler alert, they all, most of them die in the end. The boat sinks, have you seen Passion of the Christ? Spoiler alert, the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have came at some better stuff, but that all just comes in time. I definitely need to work on my crowd work, but it was fun. They were a little rowdy in the front, but it's all good. It kind of made me feel more relaxed. And it sounds dumb, but it's like with people acting that way where they're kind of either sidebars and stuff, in my head I'm like, okay, cool, they're not really paying attention to me, so I could just say whatever and not look dumb or sound dumb, opposed to wanting all 100% eyeballs on me. And so, so I honestly, I love the crowd. Huge shout out to everyone that came out every time, especially these big shows. I really, it means the world to me. Before the show starts, when everyone's sitting down, I like to go downstairs and just say hi to everyone because it's just so awesome, man. Like, I understand, not, actually, I have a funny story about this. I understand that, like, not everyone is there for me, but the fact that they're down there just supporting comedy in general, just because they're not there for me, but they're there to laugh and stuff, that just shows Yuma, the community, that, okay, they want more of these, which in return helps us, because then it's like they show excitement, they show interest in comedy. So then it's like, all right, well, maybe more bars and more clubs will see this and want to have more shows. In return, give me, Cody, other local comedians here that are trying to get more stage time, give us another opportunity. So that does help. Funny story about that was, so I was, this guy, after I got off stage, this guy came up to me. I was at the bar and he had walked by to grab a drink and he saw me. He's like, hey man, like, I just saw you on stage. Like, good job, bro. And I was like, oh man, I appreciate, like, I appreciate you coming out and supporting. I don't know if I said supporting me or supporting comedy or supporting the show. I don't remember, but I said something like that. And he was like, oh, I didn't come here for you. I know about Josh Potter and all that. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my head, I'm thinking, like, that was sad. Like, it hurt me I mean, because I get it. Like, yeah, like I said, I understand not everyone was there specifically for me. But that's why I never say, like, if it's my family, if I know 100% they came because they were like, well, Jordan's going to perform, so I'm going to go. If Jordan wasn't performing, then I wouldn't be here. Those people, I understand. And those are the people that I'm like, thank you for coming. You came for me. For the most part, I understand, like, these other people that come out, even if they come up to me and say, good job, like, I understand you didn't come for me, but you don't need to tell me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank you for the compliment, but at the same time, like, I didn't mean it as, like, thank you for coming out just for me. Because this guy in his head, he was like, "Oh, I didn't come out for you. I came because I listened to Josh Potter podcast or his podcast and other things he's been on. So I'm a huge fan of his." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. Like, that's awesome." And I think at the moment I was just like, "Yeah, that's cool, man. Whatever, whatever reason you came out for." But later on, when I thought about it, I was like, "I mean, you didn't have to tell me that, But I'm fine." Then I just went outside and cried for a few minutes. But no, it was, I laughed a little because I was like, all right, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, like, you didn't have to say that. You could have just been like, yeah, for sure, man, this was cool. Like, you guys should do it again, like, or something. But then again, maybe it's my fault for thinking or for saying something that this guy thought that I assumed that he was there for me. I don't know. But either way, it was a great show. And then, like I said, once again, I appreciate everyone that came out to support comedy, to support the show, not me. And then the people that did come out for me, I especially appreciate you. My thing, too, is every show I try to get pictures with, especially the people that are there specifically for me, my family, my friends, whatever. I try to get pictures with them. And after every show, and I always fuck up, and there's always one or two people that I'm like, fuck, I didn't get a picture with them, because I like to make. I don't post a lot on my personal Instagram as far as like posts. I'm on it all the time. I'll like stuff. I'll message people. I'll comment on stuff. I'll post on my story a lot. But as far as like an actual post, I don't post too many like solid like in my feed things. So when it comes to these big shows and I get pictures from these people and they post pictures of me, I like to save them and make that into a post because that's more meaningful for me. Also, I like to, let the people that came out know that, hey, like, I noticed you were there and I want to acknowledge you. I don't want to be like, they message me like, hey, your show is amazing. And I'm like, oh, like you were there, like I don't want to do that. I want to acknowledge every single person, especially that came for me, like family and friends. And there was a few people that came out that they didn't come out last show, which is totally understandable. I have no hard feelings, but I just love knowing that they didn't make it to that one, so they came to this one. And, that just shows me this thing's going to build. But yeah, so I apologize if I didn't get a picture with you. It is my fault. Literally, when I see these people, in my head, I'm like, I need to get a picture with them right now. And then I forget because we start talking and they're like, bro, like, this is exciting. Good luck and all that stuff. And then I'm like, hey, man, for sure. And like, all right, I'm going to go sit down. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they go sit down. And then I go upstairs, get ready for the show. And then the show goes on. The last person performs. I go back upstairs, have a little celebratory drink, come back down, and everything's pretty much shut down. And some people had left. And that's kind of what happened. And that's my fault, so I apologize. Yeah, and then so the show went on. Show was great. Everyone did amazing. It was a good, steady. It literally built up perfectly to the highest laughs and stuff towards the end, how it should be. And then afterwards, this was when we did the George Perez show. These guys wanted to go out and party, so we were out on the dance floor, which was also super fun. That's me. That's what I love to do. I love to be out. We were partying with my friends, family. Everything was cool. But with these guys, which was no problem, by the way, because I also kind of like this. It honestly, it is whatever everyone wants to do. But we stayed up in the green room, which was above where we performed, and it was cool. I mean, all night pretty much. It was just everyone that performed. Some of their friends. The headliners, and then our significant other was up there with us, just having a good time. And also on top of that, like everyone's celebrating. Also, everyone's drinks for having a good night, having a good show. And then it's just cool because having veteran comedians like Josh Potter and Chase O'Donnell and just all their experiences of things they've been through. They perform in LA. They perform. They open for these huge names, or they've filmed their own specials, or they've headlined shows, obviously. And so it was cool because I was like a fan, but also a person that worked with them. And I was just hearing all these like stories of, the people they've hung out with and like all this stuff that a lot of the behind the scenes that a lot of people would want to know, but it's like, they were just, I don't know if it was because, they were having a good time. I don't know if it was because we also performed on stage with them. So they're kind of like, they're kind of like us. They're comedians in a sense. So they felt comfortable enough to share these stories. But it was just so cool. It was these, like, I did not want to leave the area. Honestly, I stayed up there all night, almost till the club closed. And I felt really bad because I had a lot of friends and family down that were partying, and I wanted to go party with them. But it was one of those things where I was like, I need to be up here, and I need to mingle with these people, get tips, because I don't know when I'm going to see these people again. It's not like we talk every day. They added me back on Instagram, but it's not like I have their phone number where I can just hit them up for advice. So I felt like that was my moment to get advice out of them, or at least just to share stories or whatever it was. That was my moment. And so I had to stay up there. And so I apologize for a lot of you guys that were downstairs wanting to take shots and dance and stuff, because I really wanted to be down there. But it was just one of those times where I had to prioritize, like, look, this is something that can really help me. And I was getting great advice. I mean, especially from Josh. Like I said, he's helped with Your Mom's House with Tom Segura and Christina P. He has his own podcast. And honestly, I was more getting advice from him about the podcast. I asked him the basics. Do you have any podcast advice? And honestly, his biggest one, which is what we've all been talking about on this podcast, is consistency. And I even explained to him, like, I know there's a lot of these famous comedians and other people that do these huge podcasts, and they do a lot of the interview style podcasts, which is pretty much what I do. I don't have like a theme. I'm not playing games on here. We're not fucking throwing darts at something and doing all this crazy shit. I'm not like a serial killer podcast. I'm not this. I'm not that. Like, we kind of just sit down. I bring people on that I think are interesting, that I want to have a conversation with, and record it so other people can listen in on. And that's pretty much it. And like, as other people have told me that have asked, like, so what's your podcast about? And I pretty much explain it to them, and then they give me the whole like, oh, so like Joe Rogan, like, that pisses me off when I get that response. And I even told Josh that, I even told him, I was like, hey, I'm a huge fan of Joe Rogan, no disrespect to him, but it kind of bugs me when people say that, because it's like, that's like saying if I'm outside, practicing basketball because I want to be, in the NBA, they're like, oh, who are you trying to be, Kobe? It's like, no, Kobe's not the only one that is successful at basketball. Joe Rogan's not the only successful podcaster. Like, no, that's just a thing that I like to do. I like to have conversations with interesting people. And so it bugs me when people do the whole like, oh, so you're trying to be like Joe Rogan. Like, no. And it was cool, man, talking to Josh. He was just like, no, man, I totally get it. Like, I can see how people can think that, especially people that aren't in the comedy or like podcast world. They would, just assume that's like the basics, But no, and I even explained to him, like, I don't have a thing. And I've heard other podcasts. I've heard podcasts where, comedians that have established podcasts now, they're like, dude, I don't know how anyone can come up with a new podcast that can blow up, because it's got to be so hard, because so many people are doing podcasts now, and so many people are doing the interview style podcasts. And then they even said, like, I feel like nowadays, in order for someone to have a successful podcast, you really have to bring something that hasn't been done before. And maybe I should be thinking outside the box, and I could be thinking of things like this and that, but then that's me trying to do something that I don't even care to do. Like, I do have ideas. Sometimes I have a guest on that I want to play games with. Sometimes I have guests on that I, maybe truth or dare, some shit. Like, we'll do something like that, never have ever, but I'm not going to do nothing extravagant. I like to just talk to people and just, like, I like to have those conversations where it's like, oh man, you should have been there. I feel like I have those you should have been there conversations, and they're recorded, and people can listen, and they can be like, damn, like, that was a cool story. And I don't have to repeat it to them, because it's like, we'll just go to the episode, listen to it. I have something like that. And so Josh was just pretty much saying, like, no, man, like, consistency is honestly the number one thing. Like, once you start, and he even asked me, he's like, how many people follow your podcast on Instagram? And I told him about like 800. He's like, so that's 800 people. He's like, how long have you been doing it? I was like, 2 years. He's like, in 2 years, you have 800 people doing it. You're not anyone, he said, no disrespect, he said this. He's like, you're not, anyone famous or anything, but you're establishing something in your community that people are obviously liking. They're telling their friends about it. You're building an audience. You're getting views and listens. So obviously you're doing something to catch someone's attention. He's like, all you got to do is, the more you do it, the more episodes you put out, and he even told me, he's like, you need to get, he's like, if anything, maybe get on a schedule. That way people know, okay, Mondays Slob on the Pod comes out. So that's when I know episodes coming, or, like I've talked about, I'm going to do a solo on Mondays, and Thursdays, a podcast with a guest. So as long as people know, hey, Mondays, Jordan's got an episode out by himself, and then Thursday he's got one with a guest, So as long as people have something to look forward to with the podcast, then they'll be engaged. He's like, but then the minute, you start, pretty much everything that I've been doing is what he was telling me that I shouldn't be doing, as far as like, maybe you're consistent and then you go like 2 weeks without an episode. He's like, and then maybe in those 3 episodes back to back to back that you were posting, it was like, 50 views, and then 60 views, and then 100, and then 100, and then you drop off for 2 weeks, and then you lose that momentum, and then you go back to like, 30, 50, and then 50, 50, 50, and you know what I'm saying? So he was like, that's that moment when you got to take advantage of those high views, because you just got to keep going from there. And I'm telling you, man, like, it was just, as much as I wanted to, like, I'm going back to this, as much as I wanted to go downstairs and party with everyone, I was just getting some good advice. Also, man, it was just cool hanging around these people. Like, kind of, for the first time, it didn't hit me till the next day when I was driving I was like, damn, like last night I was like a part of something that I've always wanted to be a part of. You know, I'm doing something that I didn't feel alone. I had Cody. I had Cody with me. You know, I had all the other open micers up there with me, and I mean, I had Emil, Reese, like all these other guys, and I didn't feel alone. Like it was just part of the community, and then just to have these two, fucking like hilarious, you know, well-known comedians also be there and just be in the same room, not have any interruptions. No one else is trying to talk to them. It's literally just us. And I mean, it was cool, man. We were listening to music, we were dancing, we were singing, sharing stories. I was asking questions, getting advice, and man, it was fucking dope. And Friday night, I just got a glimpse of if I just keep doing what I'm doing, or if I just keep pushing towards stand up and working on it and doing more shows and writing more material, I can have more nights like that almost every night if I wanted. And I could be part of that community. And I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever gotten this close to something I've wanted my entire life. Like maybe when I was younger, I wanted to join the Highway Patrol, the CHP. And I think the closest I got, you know, was I passed the test. And then when I got to the background check, they dropped me because of some of the answers, the way I answered them. They didn't like that. Maybe that was the closest. But even then, that wasn't so much like something that wasn't like, and and to me, no disrespect to CHP, but like, that's one of those jobs, like, you know, it's, you know, not a lot of people do it, but, you know, most people get into like law enforcement, or people get into law enforcement. You know, not a lot of people do stand up, especially as a living, especially something they pursue. Especially right now, like with me, I have an actual career job. I have a job, and then also I pursue this on the side, and I'm still running with it. And you know, I don't know, man. It's just like it's a crazy feeling. Like I'm really trying to find those parts of the moments of my life where I'm like, this is something I need to take advantage of. This is something I need to soak in. And I think Friday I really did a good thing of that. I didn't drink too much. I wanted to be aware of everything. I wanted to remember everything, especially. And so I think that night I was really absorbing every single moment, to where later on down the road I can pinpoint back to, you know, September 30th at the Crest, up in the green room, hanging out with Josh Potter and Chase and Emil and Reese and Cody and everybody that was up there hanging out with us. I can remember these stories that lead up to what it is my goal is, you know, to become a stand-up comedian, you know, to be a successful stand-up comedian. And like, once again, I don't know if anyone knows, like for me, my definition of I guess my definition of becoming a successful comedian, what is a successful comedian for me, would be someone that is able to just do stand up and not have to work a second job. Like that is it. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to have a home, you know, $1 million home. I don't need to do all this crazy shit. But if I can get paid and be able to live off that money and pay rent and live in a place and take care of my dogs and just tell jokes and travel and stuff, that's all I want to do. I mean, if more comes to that, obviously I'm all about that. But that to me is what the definition for myself would be a successful comedian. So yeah, that Friday show was amazing. Thank you guys all that came out. Thank you, you know, Chase, Josh, Reese from coming out of town, Cody for putting on an amazing show. Oh man. So yeah, so that was Friday. This weekend I didn't really do much other than that. That was kind of like the highlight of my weekend, which I'm all about that. My adrenaline was going so fucking crazy before, during, and after the show that was like Friday was my whole weekend pretty much. Today, as you can tell, I slept in. I'm editing right now Thursday's episode. Oh, that's another thing. I'm still thinking about if I should do this or not. So since I recorded Thursday's episode last week with Eric, episode 69, that'll be coming out this Thursday. I want to do then, if I can record the episode before I do my solo one on Mondays, I can maybe give a little something to look forward to for the episode with him. So maybe I'll do that. Uh, like for instance, maybe just give a little, uh, you know, what we talked about, stuff like that. Obviously, you guys know Eric Castaños, uh, Yuma native photographer. I want to say professional photographer, but that's just me. I don't know if he. I don't think he would call himself that. But I mean, this guy is he's walking, living, breathing, living proof of someone that came from a small town and now he's out there traveling the world, literally traveling the world on world tours with some amazing people, taking amazing pictures, having amazing stories, and I'm so honored to call him my family, a cousin of mine that I grew up with. Like, it's insane. And even hanging out with him, sometimes I feel like I'm hanging out with a celebrity just because of the pictures I see and the people he hangs out with and all this stuff. And yet I have his phone number. I can call him I can send him a dick pic at any moment I want, and it's fucking Eric. But no, man, we just talked about him traveling. If you guys don't know, he works with Matt. My fucking brain's, what is it? Hold on. So he is a professional CrossFitter. Hold on. I typed in professional CrossFitter Matt because his first name is Matt, and it just sent me a bunch of Amazon exercise mats, but that's not what I meant. Matt Frazier, sorry, Matt Frazier, sorry, Eric. So he travels pretty much with them. He goes to competitions, the workouts they host for other CrossFitters, and he takes pictures. And he's helped Matt and his team develop their own app for like exercises and all this other stuff. I'm telling you, man, Eric has done so much with his talents. It's insane. And I love him, and I'm so proud of him. And every chance I can, I try to hang out with them, especially now, man. Like, I think for me, I don't know about recently. I don't know about before, but like maybe within the past year or two, this man's been traveling so much. So it's like any moment he comes back home, I really try to take advantage of that and go see him. Especially try to get an episode with him on the podcast. And at first I felt like I was only having him on because, everything he's done and stuff. But like, no, me and Eric started out with our own podcast back in the day. If you real ones know, the Stoked and Stroked, that was me and Eric. We had a podcast, put out a few episodes, but obviously in time we got too busy to where it was very hard scheduling both of us to have days off and record and edit these episodes. And at the time, I was literally just a voice, and Eric was voice, editing, hosting, posting, marketing, everything. So that on top of him starting at his point of traveling and taking pictures and really getting up there in photography, I totally understand it. He got busy, so we had to shut that down. But so for me and Eric, podcasting has always been a fun thing to do. It was never like something that we felt like we had to do. It was just something we always looked forward to. And so luckily, thanks to Eric, honestly, a lot of thanks to Eric, a lot of the editing, certain styles as far as like the little snippets I post. If you guys follow me, go follow me at the Slob on the Pod on Instagram. Obviously I'll post a picture of a thumbnail, and then the next picture will be like a little 1 minute, snippet. That way people kind of get an idea, even if it's just something funny, little cut up. I got that idea from Eric. I've learned a lot of stuff from him, and because of that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my own. And obviously, when every chance I get, I want to have him on the podcast, and it's always a great time. And so, like I said, every time when he's traveling, when he comes back home, I make it a point to either hang out with him or at least get him on the podcast, because that's just as well as hanging out with them and just talking and enjoying his company and hearing about all his knowledge and all his stories. I mean, obviously, when on Thursday, when his episode comes out, you guys will we'll talk about it. But I mean, he went to, Madrid, England, France, Is France where the Eiffel Towers are? Or is that Paris? I don't know. But he traveled. Oh, Switzerland. Went to Switzerland. Like, he went to some amazing places. Um, got to go look at soccer stadiums. He has some crazy stories, man. I'm telling you. Um, and at no point is he braggadocious about all this. He's just someone that's from a small town that's gotten out of this small town, and from his hard work and from his skills of photography, it's brought him these huge opportunities and a way of life to live. And so at no point I told him, I was like, man, you're not bragging. I was like, you're sharing your story that all of us want to hear, all of us that haven't gotten to that point in our life, or all of us that have just, wish we could be doing what you are. And now we're hearing it from someone that lives in our own backyard. So, I mean, it was so cool, man. We talk about him planning his 30th birthday, which he wants me to host, MC. He wants to make it like this huge thing. And then at the end, we just talked about, just obviously I put out like a question thing. So some of you guys asked him some questions. We had that. But no, man. So definitely Thursday, episode 69 will come out with Eric Castaños. Make sure you guys are looking out for that. What else is up? Why are my dogs barking? Hey, keep it down. Hey. It's so funny. Have you seen that meme where it's like, or like a video where it's like the dog's like yapping, like middle of the night, barking, 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 and then the fucking, the owners wake up and they tell the dog like, hey, shut up, like go to bed. And then the dog just kind of gives them a look like, all right, then fuck you. Then next time someone breaks in, I won't say anything. Like, that's how I feel sometimes, is that when my dogs are barking and I'm just like, shut the fuck up, like they're just like, little do I know, they're trying to warn me like, hey, like, someone's trying to break in through the front door, or an earthquake's coming, or a tsunami's coming. Like, they're trying to give me warnings, and I hear them like, shut the fuck, get out of here. Go to the cage or put them outside and stuff. And they're just trying to help me. I don't know, man. They also bark at like fucking the candle flickering. I don't know. But what else do we got? I want to say that's it for this episode. This one is obviously, like I said, Monday, October 3rd. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you guys have a great week. Be looking out for episode 69 on Thursday with Eric Castaños. That'll be out soon. And fucking thank you guys for watching, viewing. Thank you, Liquid IV. Remember, go to liquidiv.com, get 15% off plus free shipping when you use my code SLOB. Thank you, Liquid IV, for sponsoring the episode. Thank you, everyone that listens. Thank you, everyone that watches. I love you all. That's it for me. That's it. That's all I got. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you. Bye.